where we are right now, basically, we have merged the testnet 3 branch and the dev branch, but we're doing the final testing right now. So hopefully in a few hours, we should have 0917 that's rebased to all the work that's there so far and is passing tests, released shortly. And that has all the cost accounting features as well as enhancements and simplification of RSpace. There was one of the PRs that's merged. And it has the signature changes, those are merged in there. So basically everything that's working would be merged and available in 0917. And that should be released soon. We are running, I'm calling sprints, but really this is now, like I said in one of the previous sessions, it's more like a Kanban type of a setting, how in terms of how we're managing. But the main focus at this time is testing, hardening, any feature cleanup, security and bug fixing of testnet 3. Then there are pieces of mergeability, meaning when you have multiple parents, merging of the blocks, making decisions about who we pick and how do we go about merging without conflicts. So that is a piece of work that needs to be done. And then we're beginning to talk to and get ready for exchanges and whatever tools and facilities are needed for DApp developers. So that's really the focus of this, where we are at this point in time. So cost accounting, there's nothing new to say other than that we fixed some of the bugs we found, and that's all now going to be merged into 0917. Mergeability, we have the per validator vaults, and we are working on the securing the access to make those vaults be private within the POS. And then to get full mergeability, we have a design, but that needs to be discussed. So plan is to hopefully get that finalized within the next week. And depending on what part of next week we'll have that finalized, hopefully begin to work on that either before or after Thanksgiving. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And then for hardening, we are, for one thing, we're continuously testing. We're doing a lot of testing right now. But we're also planning a combination of Scala property testing and law testing, some generative tests in some parts of the system, and a little bit of formal methods where it is feasible to do so. So it's a mix of methods that we're trying to take to approach the testing issue, so that we do that in a way where it's a matter of balance between feasibility of each of these approaches for different parts of the system. But the goal is to get as much coverage and as much verification as possible. That's kind of where we are on that. And we are also, just this morning, we started to look into how the exception handling framework in the system needs to be improved so that we can catch we can bubble up the problems that are found in an appropriate manner and be able to resolve them quickly. So that's kind of where we are with the hardening. The other piece is the tools and documentation, both to get ready for exchanges and for the app developers. We are kind of basically looking at whatever applications we have either made in the past or are making now to the exchanges to say, okay, what documentation are they asking for? What kind of tools are they asking for? And putting them on a list and starting to develop them. Hopefully, many of those will be developed in conjunction with or through the community. So that's where we are. with that, one of the things is, for example, a block explorer is probably something we're going to look at in the near future. And I talked to RCat last time, so we're trying to prioritize what needs to be done there to have it work with the current code base. And then documentation. So basically, this is sort of a just-in-time documentation, just-in-time tools type of a thing. As we take a particular need, whether from an exchange or a developer's perspective, we're saying, okay, these things, since they're asking for it, let's finish these and then move on to the next thing from there. That's kind of where we are on that documentation tools. One other thing, there was a request from the community to say, hey, now that we are in testnet 3 and there's more possibility of dApp developers being engaged, can we have a stable version of the testnet that is not as dynamic as it has been in the past? So we're looking at splitting that into two parts. One is the testnet 3 stable with less frequent updates, and then the testnet 3 latest. And both of them may have like 5 nodes each or something like that. So that's kind of, we're beginning to plan for that. And then we continue to capture performance data so that, especially after mergeability, we should see a big performance boost. But as we look into the testing and bugs, one of the things we're also looking at is the performance and what parts of the system are taking more time, and then looking at saying, is there something we can improve there from a performance perspective? So that's also ongoing at this point in time. So that, I think, is by and large the high-level view of where we are on the development update.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm out on the street at 3 in the morning to try to get some connectivity. All right. Anyway, just so I'll run over some stuff that you can probably have picked up if you've been watching Twitter and other stuff, and then we'll have more information on I guess the Friday call. I should be able to make the Friday call. Yeah. I'm down on the ground on Thursday. Okay, so I was at the @ONE conference that was put on by the Octave Institute, which is a subsidiary of IMC. I met with the chairman, Fred Tsao, as well as his director of investments, and I'll have more details on that on the Friday call. Then I went from there directly to Beijing, and we had a meetup on that Sunday evening. There was Chinese press. There were a lot of folks. The community was quite happy with the presentation, as you can see from the photographs. And then the next day, I went to the International Financial Forum and met with their executive director, Bin Cai. Sorry, I'm still struggling with the pronunciation of Chinese. That was also quite well. The talk was quite well received. If I understand, they are advisors to the highest levels of Chinese financial institutions, if I understand correctly. And then I went on to meet with Kevin Rin, who is one of the founders of Consensus Labs. This is a Chinese Consensus Labs, and also which is connected to 3 other institutions, one of which is the largest blockchain media group in China. So we talked about possibly syndicating some of the co-op content for their channels. We'll have to see if that all pans out. We also talked about me coming back to China to participate in their in their they're having a major conference on the 3rd and 4th of December. So I might come back out here. We're going to evaluate the value versus the cost. Let's see, and also met with Huobi, and we're just getting them some documentation over so they can take next steps. And I think that's it. I think that covers most of the itinerary. I'm back in Shanghai now, and I leave in about 15 hours or so, I think, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of the update from the China trip. I'm in the midst of writing an investor prospectus that's tailored to some of our investors, as well as other documentation. The team on the ground has just been they've just been angelic. They've been so supportive. Eric and Longo, Lori, Bitcoin Loyal Fan, all of them have been just really, really incredibly helpful. And I'm very, very grateful. The last time I was here in China, I had to sort of navigate on my own, and it's much, much easier with so much support and help. So really, really grateful for all of that. Yeah, I think that's about all I've got. We can talk more in details on the Friday call. But yeah, so any questions or comments?
I just want to say, Greg, this all sounds really exciting. I'm just wondering, when did you need to have that prospectus done?
I'm doing my level best to get a draft of it done before I leave China.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. This kind of writing takes a lot out of me.
So Greg, was the spreadsheet that Ned and Ian and I filled out, is that sufficient for that application, or did you need anything else?
It should be. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll give it one last review and then toss it over to Claire.
Cool. And you're going to submit it as a spreadsheet, or do you need it like as a PDF or something?
No, that's the format that they gave it to us in.
Okay, cool.